Hello, and welcome to Stand Up Your Tubes, where we control the tubes and the tubes don't control us. I've been working on creatures. I have a little rabbit that I just finished that is going to be the subject of this tutorial. This was the first one I did. The first one's always a prototype. It was a kitten, has a long tail with pom-pom, has pom-poms out of fur. This is made a little differently. I did not put the fur around the end of the paws. I just gave it little flared out paw pads, adorable little ears with an amazing way of taking all the extra bulk out of this pink part of the ear when you sew it in. I had such a struggle trying to get that right, and then I thought of how to solve it so we could have nice narrow ears, have a little pink insert. We have really cute nose, very, very soft. You'll see how to make that in the tutorial. What's really special are the high top sneakers that both of them are wearing, and their tutus. Sitting the bunny down, and now the little kitten also has on high top sneakers, a little long tail. Would be really easy for you to turn that bunny into a cat just by doing little fuzzy pointed ears and giving it a tail. Putting some little pom-poms on it, but also a tutu. When it comes to the inner part of the ear, I'm going to show you how to do that. So don't do the pink. Do your gray, your 33 row gray, if you're going to do a rabbit, or I will have the row counts for the little pointed ears and for the little cat tail, for the pom-poms, so you have a choice of which one you would like to make. So without any further delay, let's start our row counts. Okay, so you saw the row counts and cranked out your tubes. And this is the body, head, shoulders, bodysuit, and then the rest of it that pulls up inside, the shoulders and the head down here. So if you decided just to make a straight tube with body colors, you're pretty much ready to put it together. But if you watched the little short video that is going to be linked to this, so that you could put a blaze down the front of the face, and here it is right here, then you have some cleaning up to do. So we'll start with, in the event you put the fur yarn in, then you're going to need to snug your fur yarn up. And we tied one single knot, so now this is our chance to firm it up a little bit. Tie that second, and since it's fur yarn, maybe even a third knot. Snip it off. And then we have one more, the beginning and the end. This one's tying off to the gray. Nice and snug, snip that off. Now when we're moving up here, this is where it's going to get a little more dicey. So the reason I like to tie mine is if you look on this side right here, it's loose and I want to snug it up. I visually want to look and see how I'm snugging them up. So I'm going to come down here to the first set that I tied off with the single. And because I did that single little knot, I can see it, pull it. Here's my first one on this side. And my first set on this side. Just going to snug it up a little bit. Look on this end over here, and it looks better. I like it. So that's why I want the control of being able to snug after the fact. So I want to tie this and bring it down. A little snug. tie it and bring it down. Now I'm on the next row. Because of that one single knot we put in, I can bring it up and see it. If not, you will have a really hard time trying to figure out which row's which, because I had it happen to me. I thought I could just do it all at the end, and that does not work. So here's the second row coming from the snout. Pulling it over and taking a look. And that's how we're going to work our way up to the end of the tube. So I'm going to work on that. If you put a blaze on yours, you can work on yours. And I'm going to pause. And when I come back, I'll have those all tied off. My threads will be snipped down, and we can turn the tube right side out and take a look at it. All right, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I finished tying off all the threads. And now when I flip it over, I have the little blaze coming down under the eyes and down towards where the snout is going to be. Okay, and I kept my cast on thread loose. That didn't get tied into anything because that's our drawstring for the top of the beanie. Okay, so I'm going to trim these down. I don't want to pull all these in. And something I did to kind of keep track, because I did, as I tied each one off, I had a bobby pin here to hold it down so I'd know that it had gotten tied and I wouldn't skip a row. Might be something you want to try. Okay, I'm going to pause just for a second, trim all these loose ends up. Okay, I'm back and I flipped it over. I'm just taking this little row with the fur yarn, and unfortunately, the bulk of the fur goes to the wrong side. So I'm just trying to pull some of that fuzz up to get it onto the proper side. And it can be done. Just work your way around. And the blaze right here, it's going to go on the forehead. Totally optional. If you want to do the blaze, then I have a little link to a video on how to change the colors here, what the row counts are. My fuzzy underside. And then you'll see color variations. This is all one color, but this one you'll see some color variations. I'm using up for the inside of the tube scrap yarn, close in color. I don't like this. It's like a putty gray. It just seems lifeless to me. So I'm just using it up. This is just straight up white. This is my sparkle thread. This is my top body thread. And so we're going to treat it like any other beanie that becomes an animal. I'm going to pull it up into itself. So here's the top of the head. I'm going to count down 25 rows or 10 above the fur, whichever way you want to do it. I think I might count from the fur going up. And I'm going to do a drawstring. And I know you know how to do a drawstring. You go under 2, over 2, under 2, over 2, all the way around. And then we can draw that together to draw up the head. Smooth it out. Get to the bottom. Check inside. Make sure that you're lining up your white and your grays. And do the same thing around the bottom. Open, over, under, over, under, over, under. And we can pull that drawstring too. So I'm going to pause just a moment and do my yarn going around on both ends, and then we can come back. Okay, so I have my thread around the bottom. I have the pull strings at the top for each end of the tube. So I just counted up 10 and I have the pull string. This is the neck, and this is the top of the shoulders. This is the little bodysuit. So now it's time to snug the top of the head up. Not all the way because we're going to put on eyes, but to be able to put a little stuffing up there so we can put some eyes in. And we'll need some stuffing up there to give the head some shape. Okay, I'm going to snug this up, the outside tube. Okay, my yarn got trapped inside. So here's my pull cord right here. It went inside when I turned the tube. Okay, so I like to keep about 4 fingers in here to start with, so it cinches up nice and neat. So here's my inner tube. That's that putty gray color that I've used up all my thread that I don't want to have anymore. It's hiding inside the tubes. Okay. Here's the little blaze coming down the face. It's going to be cute. Snug it up just a little bit more. Okay. Okay, if you watch enough of my videos, you're going to know that I'm a bow tire. So instead of just cinching this up at the neck and tying it, I tie a bow so that I can fine tune it later. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just fine tuning it, one tie and then a bow. And I want to have stuffing in the neck. That's why I didn't cinch it up really tight, to stabilize the neck. And I'm going to pause just for a moment, put some more stuffing in the body, probably just a little more into the head to round that front of the face out. Okay, I have a glue gun heating up. I have my eye that I'm going to use, and I got them off of Amazon. It's a 2-part eye, and I liked it because it has a little eyelid part and then a little round eye pupil with some of the gold around it. And I did Google a rabbit eye, and they do have round eyes. They do have like a little lid on it. So these will be perfect. I have 2 of them, and I'm just going to pop each one into its eyelid, because we're going to be trying them on in just a minute. Here's our blaze, optional. You might just have a gray face here. But this is how I'm going to do the snout. It's the furry pom-poms. You have to be careful when you're gluing these on not to overdo the glue so that it comes up to the front of the pom-pom. That will make it stiff, and that's not going to feel good on your fingers. So the little nose rests in. I'm going to turn it around so you can see it the way I was seeing it. You just snug that little black pom-pom in there for the nose. Bring these, if you have smaller ones, these 2 come together for this side. This one will come together like this, and you'll still get a cute little snout. I have my glue gun ready to go, and I'm going to put my little white pom-poms on, but I'm going to shape it down on my table. Bring it down here to get the shape I want. Then, after I've glued it, I can come just trim around the edges, whatever I think I need to do to bring it together. But honestly, if I'd had one more white one, I would have done the big white one, a nose, and a big white one. Okay, so this will be one side, and I'm going to find the nicest side of the pom-pom and put the side that's not the nicest down. Okay, I'm going to just put a little glue on my glue gun. Doesn't take much to hold it together. Don't want it bubbling out. And I'm going to just fuse this together into one bigger pom-pom. Do the same with this one. Look for my nicest sides. I think that's it. A little bit of glue to hold them together. And if I didn't live in the tiniest little town ever, yes, I would run to Hobby Lobby and get some more. But that's not going to happen, so this is going to be my little snout. I'm going to glue the nose in using minimal glue. come down this side, just do a little bead around. And just nestle it right down in there for a cute little nose. Let it dry. Okay. Now I'm just going to put a little bead right here to hold the bottom together. A really small bead because I don't want it to be hard on the outside. I'm going to keep it back a little bit, just right here up at the top, and bring them together. Okay. It's probably going to be just as cute. And I'll trim it up a little bit after I get it on. I glued it to my table. Okay, we can do lots of trimming on it. And I even did on my single pom-pom, when I brought those two together, I did do a little bit of trimming with my scissors. Okay, so there we have it. I'm going to pause and bring the little face back up. Okay, so I'm going to just put minimal amount of glue on the back of the pom-pom so it doesn't come up to the top. We don't want that to happen. A little bit behind the black, a dab behind each white one. And I'm going to position it onto the face. Using my blaze coming down, I'm going to put the nose right at the top of that and push it right down on and let that glue dry. I'm going to pause just for a moment for that glue to dry, and we'll come back and put eyes on. Okay, this is its little snout glued on. Very, very light on the glue. You do not want it to come and bubble up to the top. So when I get the eyes on, everything's done, I will just trim it up just a little bit, trim it up just a little bit, like right here, so that it's more rounded. Come over here and just do a little bit of trimming right in here, very minimal. Bring the nose down just a little bit. I did the same thing on the other one till I was happy with it. And then when we take our fur yarn, this isn't exactly the right yarn that I'll use, but we'll come across the top like this, and look how cute that looks. This was not the exact fur yarn I'm going to use. I'm going to use the same yarn that I used right here, but I had that handy. So now we have to decide where the eyes are going to go. And I have my cute little Amazon eye here, so I'm going to have to turn it towards me to line it up, bring it down on my lap. But I have the little white blaze here to help me along. And I'm going to put the eye in, make sure there's no fur, stuffing right behind it. And the blaze is so helpful for lining it up. So I have just let the little eyelid point go right into where we made the row come out a little bit wider. And there's its eyes. Can't wait to trim its snout down just a little bit. But I'm going to put the backing on. There's safety eyes. Roll it back. And these are pretty easy to get on. They're not as stiff as the dragon eyes. Okay, and I heard that snap down. Making sure that they're positioned correctly, because you're not going to change it once you've got that backing on. So it's a one-time thing. And I'm happy with that, so I'm going to put the other back on. Snapped. Good snaps. Okay, and we have a cute little face going. Can snug it up just a little more. Both layers. Decide if we're going to need a little more stuffing. We don't want to spread our rows apart. That's not a good look. But we can use a little bit more in here. Oh, it's so cute. I love the pom-pom snout because it's furry and soft, and it's about the children to me, that a child is going to love the way that feels. Gonna get just a little bit into the back of its head to round it out. Has a little flat back part right here that I don't like. Here's where futzing, I call it futzing. Futz with it. It's never done until you say it's done. If you don't have enough, put some in. If you think your stitches are spreading apart and you're unhappy, then take them out. So right now, I'm going to take my finger and put it in the white here and just sweep away any of those gray threads. Get them out of the way. They're just under that top layer. Okay, I'll take a peek in too. So the only gray I'm going to be seeing is from the tube underneath. I'm not going to see random threads coming across on the top there. Okay, I'm going to pull this snug, pull this outside one snug, because I really think I have a really cute little face going here now. Tie these two strings together. And they're way too long, so let's shorten them down and tie them. Okay, I have 2 ears made. They're the same width. There's 6 rows on the inside to give us a nice narrow ear. Now I think we need to just finish up our nose. So I'm just dividing my nice long piece of fur yarn. This is Fur the Moment, Furby yarn. I got it at Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to put one tiniest little spot of glue right at the top, just to secure the very top of that yarn. Then roll it out so that the yarn is out and the little thread that it's all secured to is to the inside. And I'm just going to lay it over that little dot of glue. That'll keep it from pulling forward over the nose if little fingers pick at it. Let that dry. This really is like the embellishment that I think takes it over the top. And I keep that in so the fur is out. Bring it around. We're doing it twice, so it's extra furry. Bring it down to the bottom. And we can see how that just looks so cute with that little fur ruff. So I'm going to tie it at the bottom, bury my ends of my cord, and measure yours before you wrap it around twice to make sure it's long enough before you do your glue and everything. And then find out that you didn't have enough thread. I wanted to do this as a video short because I believe that it's going to be useful to anyone that wants to have a cute little ear that's narrower, and on the tube inside it's only 6 rows. Now why did I want to do that? Because in my sample here, these are just a couple of random tubes I had. The dilemma was, if this were the outside of an ear and it's done on the 22 pin, and this is a softer fabric, so it doesn't even have as much bulk as my main yarn does that I'm using on my bunny. If I put it on top, it's the same size. And I struggled with how to get a reveal. So this would be the gray of my bunny, and this would be the inside of the ear. And if I brought it over like this, then it's too far over here I tried different things. I thought maybe I could fold it in half, but that made it really, really thick and stiff. I thought maybe I could bring it in on each side, bring it together and try to mattress stitch it. Nothing was working. So I just waited a couple days and slept on it and came up with this idea, and it worked beautifully so that we take our 22 pins and have a 6-row reveal inside. So I have a chalk pen, and it is inexpensive from Walmart, and I already have my 22 pin marked. I put a mark on the red nub right before the black pin where we would do color changes and start our cast-ons. And then counting that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I put a white mark on that 9th nub. Now we're going to cast on, and we are not going to use those pins. It would be like doing panels without having to learn how to do a panel, because I do read what you post, and I know people have trouble with panels. So let's just do it without it actually being a panel. So I'm going to cast on normally. A typical cast on, and now I see this white coming up. I'm going behind that pin, but I'm not really going behind the pin because I'm coming straight this way, but that's going to be the pin that we're working with. So I'm just going to hold this yarn up until I come around and my black pin comes up. I'm going to pull this tail back down because it's popped up. When you don't work on all of these pins, it'll make the beginning and ending loop want to rise up, so you'll have to keep an eye on it. But I'm coming under the black, and it's going to go under the pin, and now it's just like a normal cycle going around, making sure that we catch all of them. And here's where this thread yarn is going to rise up with that pin, so I'm going to have to pop it back down, take my thread out, and make sure it gets captured. Coming around, popping this down, coming under the black, making sure that it gets trapped, coming down, and here we go. Push this down because it's going to want to rise up. We don't even have to pay attention to this white pin anymore. We'll just see this coming around and trap it, coming around. Look at it rising up. I want to push that down, come under, trap it, come around. Look how easy this is. Just remember to push that down. You don't need a chalk mark anymore. It traps it, bring it around. It's rising up on the black pin, push it down. For this particular ear, we're doing 30 rows. If you're doing a dog ear, some other kind of ear, make it as long as you need it to be. My outer ear is 33, so I'm making the inner ear 30 so that I can also recess it in from the top and have the reveal go all the way around. So coming around, I'm not going to do too many more rows because I think it's pretty obvious how we're doing it. And for this sample, I've still got to push this one down. I'm just going to pause, do a few more rows, and then I'll show you how we cast off. It's going to be just like any other cast off, except that we're only casting off of these. Okay, I've done just a few rows. I'm coming under my last pins. And now I'm going to cast off by just bringing it around, pushing this pin down, not the pin, but the thread yarn on it, and coming around just like any other cast off. I'm just going to start picking up my yarn off the pins and bringing it on around. It couldn't be any easier. We just didn't knit over a bunch of pins. And I'm going to go ahead and get this off. I'm not even going to finish it. I'm going to show you from a sample that I did earlier when I was doing a prototype what that's going to look like. Okay, so let me get this down. Reposition the camera just a little bit if I can. Okay. So when we take it off, this is what we're left with. It's light. It's missing a bunch of stitches out of the middle. And now we have the option of, let's pretend that this is the gray outer ear to the rabbit and that this is the pink inner ear. I can count my 6 stitches on the top and just roll in till I see 6 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Couldn't be any easier. Now when I lay this into my ear, I can have a nice reveal. How nice is that? If that's too much of a reveal, you're controlling your tube, so just bring it out a little bit. And this one is a little too long because this was my inner ear. It's shorter than it needs to be. It was my first ear that I was so unhappy with because it was so bulky and big. But I would just leave a little reveal at the tip even, cinch up the end like it's a beanie. Just go ahead and pull your thread. Right here is my thread. So I can cinch that up, round it off, tie it off, and then even use that to mattress stitch down. Then do not do anything with that mattress stitch, just leave it hanging. Tie on another piece of yarn at the top and come down and leave that mattress stitch hanging, because I want to show you a tip that I think you'll like to make your ear have a little bit of sassiness to it. So on this one, I pulled those mattress threads until the end of the ear tip came over. Now I had to, when I pulled it, I had to work it up a little bit so that it was only pulling on the tip. You could pull it to bring it all the way like this if it was some kind of puppy dog. As much as you pull it and work it up so that it's affecting these mattress stitches up here, the more you can have your ear tip over. And I thought it gave my little rabbit a little character, a little sassiness. So that's how to do the ears if you want it to tip over on the ends. They're going to be very, very sturdy when you sew them onto your rabbit because of the inner ear, stiffening it up a little bit, but not overwhelming the ear. When you sew it on, you sew around the back. I came around the front without getting into my pink yet because this was a little shorter tube than my outer tube. And I came around, then I came back a little further onto the head, came up a little higher on the ear, came around the front, grabbed these V stitches of the white, came back around the back. I had a nice sturdy ear and I tied it off. And that's how we do the ears so that you can have a little sassiness, way less bulk on the inside. We're down to 6 rows. we can have a reveal. I like it, and I just wanted to bring it to you as a little short video. Now, I still have a bow in the neck, and I know that I want a sturdy neck, so I'm taking the stuffing I put in the body, pushing it up into that neck area, sturdying up that neck. All this stuffing in the body is going into the neck pretty much. Wow, so much more secure. No wobbly head now. Keep going up, 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 up. So much more secure and sturdy. That's why we tie bows. Taking some more of this and up into the back. Okay, I like that. Still not going to take that bow out. Going to put a little more stuffing into the body, and we're going to close up the bottom of our body tube here with a bow. Pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling it up. Going to tie that bow with it about like this, just in case. Okay, this is where I'm going to have a link for a video short for making the leg and putting a sneaker on the end of it. It's totally adorable. The link will be in the description. It's 3 tubes. It won't take you any time at all to put it together. I think I'm ready to cinch this body up the rest of the way, so I'll pull this tight at the bottom and then come just right to the left of where I pulled that up like you would do a beanie and sew the top of this leg on with the tennis shoe pointing up. So I'm going to snug the bottom of my beanie, go off camera for a minute, and sew this leg on with you. Well, it didn't take very long for me to make a sneaker. How do you do this? Here we go. So now it's time that we have both legs made to size them up. Doesn't work very good. Maybe if I lay it down. I went ahead and just sewed across the top just to give me a nice, neat, rounded top to sew onto the body. So this one is still loose on the end, and I added a little bit more stuffing. I want to make sure this tube is coming up straight. We just folded the sides in just slightly, and then I'm just going to sew across the top, just so that it's a little narrower at the top. Just going to catch some V stitches. It's going to make it a little bit easier when we're sewing it on to not have it loose. Okay, just taking a few of these V stitches. Check it against this one to see how rounded it was. They're about the same. Once you make the first one, then you're going to make the second one look like the first one. I'm going to pull this snug, maybe one more row. And it's no longer going to work to sew with because it's too short. So I'm going to just knot it off, bury it, and start with a new thread. Toes up, and here's how we're going to sew them on. Just right up on that beanie, which is now closed. And I did take just a couple little whip stitches to close it. Just come into the bodysuit and tie a knot. I'm going to leave a long enough tail that if I want to, I can tie off onto the tail. trying to keep the video not torturously long. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into the body. I'm going to come back off the row that we just sewed it together on, and I'm going to pick up these V stitches that are back here. This is where I seamed it together. You can see that. So it's kind of rough looking. If I take these V stitches, I'm going to get a beautiful stitch when I cinch it up. I'm not going to come all the way down onto here. I'm going to come just to where it's starting to curve. Then I'm going to come around, flop its leg up, and do the same thing on the back of the leg. So I'll do a few rows here while on camera. Okay, and this is, I'm going to pick the tube that's the row that's coming off of the V of her tennis shoe here. That's the side of the leg. So I'm going to keep the leg straight. So I'm going to catch the V that makes that leg look straight and start coming into the bodysuit. Try not to split threads or you won't be able to snug it up. It'll catch every time. So holding this leg straight, it's going to end up right into the V. I mean, right into where we cinched it up like a beanie. Coming around, catching all these rows so we don't have a gap. Each one, not skipping any of the stitches in the leg, gives you a nice look. Okay, I'm snugging. And because I tied it onto the body, I can actually snug it right now. Making sure that sneaker is toe up. Coming back to the next V, not a V stitch, but a row. The V stitch at the end of a row. Coming into the body. I'm trying to pick up a little stuffing as I go. Being mindful of which is my next row to get into. Snugging it. Coming in towards the cinch up part. Okay. Whoops. Dropped my thread. We're not done yet. More stitches to take before we start coming around. Okay. I'm going to roll it just a little bit. Get this next thread. And here's where I brought it together. So I'm also going to catch the V-stitch on the next part over. I'm turning the tube around and coming around on the inside. Coming back and catching my V-stitch right here. Snugging it up, rolling it around. I'm going to toe off the table. So the toe is hanging off the table, so it's laying flat. Back into the bodysuit. Another V-stitches and working my way around. If you can catch some stuffing under your needle, all the better. Just about to the finish line here. Snugging the thread back into the bodysuit. And I have a little dimple right here, so I'm going to go into the V-stitch on each side of that little dimple. That's going to bring it together. Looky there. And I'm going to tie off to this thread right here. I could have left it a little longer, right? But I can still bury it. I'm going to do 3. Okay, I'm going to bury this one by going way deep under the stuffing, bringing it up, snipping it off. And then I can put my needle almost all the way down into my little creature, pop the tip out, put the thread in, and next time I'll make sure I have a longer tail. I'm missing it. I might need to put my reading glasses on just to thread this. Okay, I have it, and in it goes. Okay. Okay, well, it's time to wrap this rabbit up. So we have our arms, the 60 tubes, tied off at the bottom, stretch them out, and we're going to just fold it in half and mattress stitch down. So I've started this one, just folded it in half, and I'm going to mattress stitch down until I'm about 9 or 10 from the end, so that when I turn it over, I have a nice little paw pad there, which is adorable. So for the rabbit, I'm going to leave it like this. And I'm stopping 9 rows back from the end of this arm. That lets it come out and make a little paw pad. And I'm not tying this off yet because when I sew it on, I believe I'm going to give it an extra little tug just to curve that paw in towards its body so that it's not just flopping out like this. So I think I like a little curve. So I just wanted to bring that up as an option. Look at this, how we just curve the arm, making a little U shape. Is just part of controlling our tubes. So I think I like that so much that I am going to tie it off now with that little curve. Doing both of them that way, I think we want to make sure they're both pretty much equal. So I'm going to go ahead and put the knot in the bottom here so my pad can splay out just a little bit. So I'm going to bury my thread. It's so long. I swear, it's so long. I'm going to take it all the way up to the top and use it to sew on, but I'm going to make sure I tie a knot up here. So we'll do both arms that way. The other one's just sitting right here. I'll make the little paw pad. Let's set our adorable little creature up, and it definitely needs a tail. The tail is what's going to stabilize it. I'm going to just hold it on, hold the arm on so that the paw pad, the inside of it that's open, is facing in. Just going to place it right above where we have our decorative fur or our bodysuit color change. This fits really well in that 10 rows that we called our shoulder. And I'm going to just sew around it just like the leg. So instead of boring you watching me sew around it, I'm going to just come across this way, then I'm going to fold it back, and I'm going to just pick up these nice V stitches, the ones that are just right back from where we turned that beanie in. We don't have to worry about it being the end of a beanie that's ragged looking. This is a turn, so it's a nice neat turn. And when you place it, get it underneath its ear, find a nice position for it, curve that, roll your tube so your paw pad is curving this way so it's not up or, want it down, facing down. So all the way around it, we'll do the other pad. I'll show you what it looks like. Let me pause. I'm going to sew on both arms. Then there are plenty of videos out there on the pom-pom maker, but I'll show you what size I'm going to use. And we'll attach that pom-pom. We'll call this a wrap. And then I'll do a video short for the tutu. Okay, I have the arms sewn on. I went ahead and tied off the drawstring in the neck. I took out that bow, tied it, and buried the ends. And now, if you're going to not make a tutu, or if you are going to make a tutu, I'm just taking an extra furry kind of yarn that I just got at Walmart, going to thread it up, find the center, come under about 3 rows, stand it up, see if it looks centered. It does not. Let me try again. Looks a little better. Just going to pull that through there. And so it looks like straps coming up. And as a matter of fact, let's do it a little bit different. Let's go under our 3 rows to learning as we go. In the row where our color changes or where the fur is right there. I was a little bit above it that time. So I'm just going to pull this out and come around behind the neck. It's pretty cute. You could stop right here. Let's bring it over. Tie it around the back. Check the front. I like it. It's snugged up. I'm going to tie it in a knot. I'm going to tie it in a double bow. So little hands can't pick it out. Nice and snug. Okay. Your bunny could be done and be adorable. I went ahead and put the other shoelace in. So easy. You could probably come up with some kind of really fancy shoelace that far outshines the one I'm using. So I'm going to just set the little bunny up back here. And to stabilize it, it does need more than just a little tiny pom-pom like this. This isn't going to do it. And since I found my other one, I'm going to hang on to it for another nose so that I can make another animal without having to go to another city. Okay, so it's going to be between my 2 bigger ones. And here's what's going to determine which one it's going to be. What I need in order to stabilize my bunny. And I think it's going to have to be a really big pom-pom. So I'm going to use my yellow one. There are pom-pom videos out there. I watched one or 2 or 3. So the secret is to get it really, really full. I'm not going to do it on camera, but I'm opening it up and I'm going to wrap around each side until it's really, really full, like almost straight across. I'm going to do that wrapping off camera because this video is getting too long. I doubled my yarn. I have 1 gray, 1 white, and this is on my yellow, which is the biggest one in my kit. This is 100 wraps exactly. So I'm going to cut it off, close this up, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to just take both my colors, hold it right down onto this bar right here, and it goes so much quicker if you double it up, even if you're going straight white. If you can grab 2 whites, it's going to go a lot faster than having to go 200 times with one single one versus 100. So I'm going to stop talking and start counting, and I'll be back when this has 100 on it, so both sides will be the same. Okay, I have 100 on each side, and that's with it doubled, doing 2 at a time. This is where you're going to be so happy you have really sharp scissors. But I will say that the little snipper that came in my pom-pom maker did a better job than I thought it would. These weren't that expensive. These little scissors were 15 or 16 bucks at Walmart, and they are amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and start snipping. Look how easy that snips. If you don't have sharp scissors, you're going to be struggling here. Might as well trim that one down a little bit. That was my starter thread. Okay, and we want to make sure that there's nothing left unsnipped, or you won't get it snugged up tight enough. So I'm going to use a double thread for this too, because I'm going to really be pulling it tight up through here. I don't want them to be coming out all the way up to the pin. Really snugging it so that I know that I am on my pin in there. Really, 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 really pulling that tight because I don't want them to pull through. Little fingers picking at it. Okay, I'm going to wrap around again. Crisscross. Come back up to this top and do it one more time. Really, really tight. I can hear it like really cinching up in there. Even do a third one. Okay, see the magic happen. There we go. And do this side. This one. Okay. See how beautiful it is? Wow, that's nice and full. I think that's going to be plenty big enough to support the bunny. So I'll trim it up just a little bit, but when the bunny tail goes on back here, it's adorable and it just acts like a three-legged stool. There it is. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this up just a little bit, just so it's nice and round. It's really pretty good just the way it is. And then I'll just put a needle on here. I'll pull it through. Then I'll come in with the other one and come the other way. Then I'll snug it up. But before I do that, I'm going to have it sitting down and have my bunny tail underneath so I know where I want to position it. Because it's not going to be down here. It's going to be up here on its butt just a little bit. So I'm going to pause the camera, trim up my long ends here that are sticking up. Okay, I positioned my bunny tail, so I'm just coming under about 3 rows here with this yarn. Going to do the same thing with these 2 strands. Here's where the magic happens. Okay, now I have my ends to pull, and I'm going to just bring it down. Before I snug that, I'm going to sit it down and see how that works as a stabilizer. Pretty good. I think it could be just a tiny bit lower. So I'm going to, before I take this one out, thread this up. And come down a couple rows to here. I'm about from the legs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 or 6. Just lowering it down. We don't have to go with our first attempt. And so I'll do the same thing with this one. Didn't want it too high up on its back. Not that easy to get 2 through at a time. I'm going to come down and try it one more time. Okay, this time it's probably a little better position. Sit it up. Okay, I like it. Okay, I'm going to just tie it off a few times and let these ends be part of the pom-pom. 3 good knots. We could be done, or we can go to the video short to make a tutu. We have 1 short for the shoe, 1 short for the tutu, and then if you wanted to do the blaze coming through here and you need instructions, there's a little tutorial for that, but you might have just opted to have all gray. So I'm going to stop this video and call it done. Thank you. I hope you like, I hope you subscribe, I hope you make some adorable bunnies.